So before we start, I want to give a little bit of a background of who I am as a person, my life story, and kind of that will, help you guys understand where I come from and a lot of the things that I'm going to say and maybe why I did certain things the way I did. So growing up, I grew up with a single mom working her butt off in a new country because we immigrated from Colombia to Canada. And basically I grew up just seeing her struggle as a single mom. We were, I would say, a low to medium household income. Money was obviously tight growing up, and I think money was always a very big driver for me from a very young age. I would always see mansions or nice cars or nice jewelry or, that kind of rich world, and I would always say, like, I want to be part of that. One day I want to be able to afford one of those houses. Like, that was something that was a very big driver for me. It stems from a very young age. The second that I was able to work at 16 years old, I got a job. Actually, I got multiple jobs. I used to work 3 jobs in the summer. At age 18, right before I started university, I started working at Starbucks. And in the summer, I got another job at a bakery, and we used to do like 16-hour shifts at Starbucks and then go to the bakery store and work another 4 or 5 hours. And basically I'd leave in the morning and come home at night. And what would drive me behind those long summer days when everybody else was enjoying their time because it was summer and there was no school, I was just calculating how much money I could earn that summer to save it and buy whatever I wanted or go travel. Always wanting to make money. When I started university, I basically was trying to aim for the highest paying job. So when I was looking for degrees that I maybe was interested in, one was dentistry, which I didn't get into. I did a video about this before of why I chose engineering. It was actually my second option. Dentists make a lot of money, and that was probably the only reason why I wanted to be a dentist. Then engineers, I knew that they could make decent money. I remember Googling, top engineering degree that gets paid the most or whatever, and chemical engineering was one of them. It used to say like about $85,000 to $95,000 a year starting as a chemical engineer. So that was a big driver for me of why I chose this degree. I was like, there you go, highest salary. A lot of the things that I've done in life have always been driven by money. Now, people may say that's bad, people may say that's good, whatever, that could be your opinion. I truly enjoy what I could do with money. I feel like you could, have freedom, and that's really all I look for, is the fact that I just want financial freedom, and that's what I'm hoping to get one day, where I don't need to work, and I'll work if I want to, but not because I need to. So other than that, so after I graduated, during my last summer of university, I got an internship with Schlumberger, which is an oil and gas service company, and I moved to Alberta to go for an internship. I remember that summer I learned how much money oil field workers made. I remember talking to several operators, other engineers, and just I couldn't believe that people made $100,000 to $200,000 with no degree, or even people who had a degree who had been working there for a year or two were in the 150s. And I remember just going back to university that year, and my main goal was graduate and go work in oil and gas. I was gonna make that happen no matter what. Like, I could have got 20 other job offers in any other industry, and I would have chosen oil fields because of the money tied to it from that summer, that I got to see the money and people with a lot of big paychecks and all that stuff. So I went back, got a job with Schlumberger, moved to Alberta, started working for them. And this is the difference that I did versus what most people do. And that stems from my background on the fact that I grew up with very little money. I saw my mom struggle in a new country, and the fact that I've always really been motivated by money, and that I wanted to get financial freedom one day. So when I started working in Alberta, I started saving all my money. So how I did that was, basically the biggest part of your income that is removed is rent, or where you live, right? I did couch surfing for about 2 years when I started working at Summership. So I got really lucky. I found a family that lived near the shop where I was working, and they let me live in their house for $100 a month as rent. So for 2 years, as a professional engineer, you know, working in the industry, I was only paying $100 a month to live. So that was a huge saving. Then the other way I saved a lot of money was per diems. So if you're working in oil and gas, you know what per diems are. It's basically money that the company gives you every day when you're working in the field, if you don't have a camp or they're not providing you with food, for you to buy food. So we used to in Canada get $45 a day, every day that you were gone in the field. So there was times where I was in the field for 30 days, for a whole month, getting $45 a day to eat. Now, I would make that $45 stretch, like last a long time compared to most people. So I would take the $45, go to the grocery store, buy a ton of food that would last me for a week or two or whatever, a couple days, versus other people who would spend like $100 a day on food because they'd go to the restaurant, order, you know, appetizers, lunch, you know, the main course, dessert, and their bill would be 80, 90 bucks, and they would do that every day while they were gone away from home. So that added up for them, but instead I was making money off my per diems. The other way I made money from working in the oil field was all the bonuses that I would make when I would go on jobs. So those could range between, let's say, $250 to about, I think the highest bonus I made was like it wasn't the highest bonus, but I would say on average from like about $250 to about $3,000, depending on what jobs I did. I wouldn't touch those at all. I would save them and pretend I didn't have that money. So that's something I'm really good at, is I have different accounts where I split monies differently, and one where I don't even see, I forget that I have. Sometimes I look and I'm like, wow, I have money in here, you know, because I live off of this other one where it's basically just like my checkings account. So my checkings, I was basically living off my paychecks, which a lot of it was savings because I really wasn't, you know, spending a lot. The other thing that's really nice about working in the oil fields, you have a uniform. So I wore coveralls, which meant I didn't need to spend on nice fancy dresses. I didn't need to spend on makeup, on hair products, jewelry, nice shoes, like things that most women, I would say, who work in the professional, you know, offices and corporate offices need to spend. I mean, I work in the office now, and yeah, I need to buy dresses, and like, you need to spend money on, you know, fashion and aesthetics because you are in a corporate office. While when I was in the field for almost 5 years, I just had coveralls and my hair tie, and that's it. No makeup. I didn't have to spend money on really anything because it's just the way it is. So I got lucky on that sense. And just in general, as a person, my entire life, I've been the kind of person that I'm always thinking how I can make $1. Like, I'm always thinking like, okay, well maybe I'll buy this and then I'll sell it on eBay, or I'm gonna sell it on Kijiji or whatever and make $5 off of it. Or maybe, you know, like I'm always thinking of how I can either save money or make money. That's just pure genetics. Like even as when I was 10 years old, I was selling candy to people just to make money off of my tub that I bought at Costco for sour candy. I used to sell it individually to people and probably make more money off selling my candy than what my mom would buy me the Costco candy for. So it's just who I am from many years ago. So yeah. The other thing is, when people start making a lot of money in the oil field, they go out and buy a brand new truck. $50,000 to $100,000 brand new truck, or a nice car. They go and buy a nice house, they go and buy toys, which means like quads and skis and jet skis and like boats, and people just start spending crazy money, campers, on like all these big, cool, like really great stuff. And people do that because they start seeing a paycheck come in and they're not used to seeing that much money. So if you look at most people, they're either coming from school, you know, young age, about 23 years old, graduating university. They've never really had a big income other than like minimum wage working somewhere. And then all of a sudden you're making, you know, $85,000, $90,000 a year, and you're just seeing these paychecks and people start spending it. Like you start spending above your paychecks. and that's fine, I guess. You know, like splurge, it's cool, like get a new car. Don't get a $90,000 pickup truck, because you never know how long this oil field job's gonna last, which is something that I noticed was in 2016 when the downturn hit. A lot of oil field workers were screwed because they had this high lifestyle of a mortgage, a $2,000–$3,000 truck payment. They had just in general such big expenses because they're used to making a lot of money, so they're used to spending a lot of money. While as me, on the other hand, I got laid off in 2016 for about 6 months, and it didn't bother me, it didn't hurt me, because I lived so minimalist that being laid off from a really good job didn't affect me in any way, because I was never living above my paycheck. So that's something really important, is even if you're not in the oil field and you just get a good job out of school, don't spend all your paychecks. Like, I was always thinking, what if I get fired? What if I quit? What if I lose my job? You know, like, I'm always thinking of the future and making sure that I have enough background and enough savings to, you know, help me on a rainy day. Always. I'm always thinking of a rainy day. So yeah, just savings, being smart with your money. I also didn't have any big expenses in terms of cigarettes, alcohol, strippers, going out, like that stuff that most oil field workers spend all their money on is booze, cigarettes, drugs, like whatever else that people spend money on. I don't do any of that stuff, so I would say, like, I saved a lot of money because I don't drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes. Now, I do like spending money on traveling. Like, I went on several cruises that cost me $2,000–$3,000 a person. Though I always go for experiences versus buying things, because I'm just not a materialistic person that much. I rather, you know, live something or experience something versus buy something. But yeah, so what I did after the 2 years of saving money while I was living at that family's house for $100 a month, I was able to save almost $75,000 cash in my bank account. Now, funny story, when I first started working, my goal was I wanted to hit $100,000 in my bank account. Like, every day, I would look at my bank account, and that was the one number that I wanted to reach. And I never reached it, because at $75,000, I pulled out all the money, and I was able to put 20% down on my first house. At this point, I still hadn't bought a car. I was still driving a Toyota Yaris from, I think, like 2010. I brought the car from Montreal, where I was going to school, all the way to Alberta. Everyone had nice cars in the shop, in the parking lot, and everyone would make fun of me because they were like, why do you have the shittiest, ugliest, like rusty, like making noise car? And I didn't care. I was like, I don't care, man. I'm here to work and, you know, save money. You guys have all these big payments on all these cars, and I'm just being smart. So yeah, I drove that car for almost 3 years, finally bought a Nissan Juke, and I bought it cash. I think it cost me $25,000. Again, I saved because I never wanted to be paying for a car on monthly terms and then paying financing for it. Like, that's just dumb to me. I just much rather pay it cash. So I paid it cash. Never until now, I'm almost 29 years old, have ever had a car payment. Ever. I've always bought my cars cash. So yeah, so we bought a house. I put $20,000, not $20,000, 20% down. It was about $75,000. And then I got married. My husband moved from Montreal to Edmonton, and what we decided to do was to live off of one income. So all of his money and my money, we would save in one account, and then we would just live off one of our paychecks. That was going towards a mortgage, towards food, towards insurances, whatever it was. So we weren't touching a lot of the money that we were both bringing in together. After about 9 months, we were able to save up a couple other $1,000, and we were able to buy a second house, which we moved out of the first house into the second house, and we rented that one house out. Then about a year later, like we've always had goals. So that's something that if you want to save money and you want to, you know, grow your income, is have goals. Make sure you write them down. Make sure you have a strategy of what you want to do. We decided to do real estate just because it's safe. And I know a lot of people who've done real estate and, you know, 20 years later, the houses are paid off and now they have this just reoccurring beautiful revenue and they can just be on vacation. So that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen. So we moved out of the house, we bought the other house. A year later, we saved enough money. We moved out of that house into another house, rented the second house, and we've done that so far 4 times. So right now we have 4 full rented houses in Alberta, which aren't making us a ton of money because you can't really look at it like that. You just gotta look at it as someone's paying off your assets. And then in 15, 20 years, once these houses are paid off, then we're gonna be making revenue off of each house. Basically like a job each, just bringing us money. So far, that's what we've done. And yeah, I hope that if you do get a job in the oil field, or honestly, like it doesn't even need to be in the oil field, just if you get a decent job, it doesn't come down to how much money you're making. It's how much money you're spending. So let me explain. You could be making $200,000 a year and you're spending $300,000 a year because that's what most people do. They always spend way above their means, way above their paycheck. So he or she in this zone is losing $100,000 a year because they're overspending by that much. Now you could be making $75,000 a year and spending $50,000 a year just because you're smart with your money. You're saving and making an extra $25,000 a year into your savings. So do you see, like, it doesn't really matter how much money you're making at the end of the day, it's how much money you're spending. So yeah, I think a lot of people, when they come into the oil field, they start seeing the money and they start feeling the taste for it and they just start blowing it. So it's actually pretty sad because most people that I know in the oil field, a lot of young people or even older people, they don't have savings, they have a shit ton of debt, and it's just not a good cycle because they don't really want to be in the oil field for the rest of their lives because they're always leaving their family, or it is a harsh environment to be in all the time, going out and back and forth. But they're like, I need to work in order to sustain my life because I have a truck and a boat and a house and kids and all this other stuff. Versus, you know, if you're smart with your money, you can quit the oil field after a couple of years because you set up a really good base for yourself in investing your money. So I hope you guys take a couple good pointers out of this. Yeah, it's not everybody that does it. I really recommend it. I know a few people who've done the same as me, where they've just saved their money and invested into rental properties, or some people who have invested into like big stocks or started businesses, or, you know, they come into the oil field for 3-4 years, make a lot of money, save all of it, and then start a company, or, you know, they put a down payment onto something that they really want, like a business that they wanted to start or whatever. So it could be either or. You could become a slave to it for the rest of your life, or you can just come make a lot of money for a short period of time and then use that to go after your goals or whatever it is that you want. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, catch you on the next one.